It's great to be here. Greg, thanks. And thanks to everybody who's made this conference such a great success. It is really a heck of an event, and I wish I could stay to see Maroon 5 tonight. Unfortunately, I've got something else I've got to do. But what an incredible event. So congratulations to the N4 and GT Nexus team. So I want to talk just a little bit about trying to make the supply chain hum. So what Greg said is true. We are a relatively new supply chain. Even more important, we're a supply chain building a bricks and mortar establishment in a software company. So when you try to do that, you get a lot of folks who don't understand. And we've got a lot of software engineers. We got a lot of folks that really are involved, certainly in the Surface and the Xbox world. But that's a very mature supply chain. And we're very nascent. I mean, we play think big, start small, and it has been a heck of a journey. So I'll talk a little about it. I'll talk about some of the things we've done. Greg's right, I was a sailor, and so you'll see that come through loud and clear as I try to portray some of the themes that I have used, a Navy metaphor to exhibit, but they're as relevant today for all of us as anybody. This is about people, processes, and performance. And Microsoft, of course, is about technology. And at the end of the day, technology is important to us for supply chain excellence and now manufacturing excellence. Profits. As a Navy guy, I didn't really understand that. Our motto was, even though the hours are long, the pay was low, so it all balanced out. And so with profits now, that's a big deal. And I had never lived through, an earnings call. And let me tell you, an earnings call that goes south changes your life, and not in a good way. So we're going to talk about new innovations and technologies. We're going to talk a little about opportunities and changes and challenges. And clearly, cloud computing is the most incredible opportunity for that. That's for sure. So let's go to the next slide. Leadership. That's the hangar bay of an aircraft carrier at morning quarters. Now, if that's not leadership and a capital ship of the line, then, I haven't learned a lot. But my point was, what you've got to do in any organization, and it's true as well in the Navy, is you have to motivate people through a higher purpose. People have to want to come to work for a reason. And certainly the profit motive, the comp, that's important. But in the Navy, obviously, we came to work every day because we knew our job was to protect and defend America's interests at sea. All the young men and women, and I'm proud to say young men and women, represent America. We always said in the Navy, if we could not represent America, we couldn't defend America, we didn't look like America. And I guarantee you the folks in that crowd look like America. They look like all of us. And the job every day is about motivating through a higher purpose. Each of us wants to feel respected. Each of us wants to feel that our hours at work are going to make a difference, something meaningful, that our talents are going to be used to create something that's of great, it's great. I guess my question is to many folks, what motivates you? What fills you with energy every morning to tackle the day? And what keeps you up at night? What fuels your determination to do the right thing? I'm going to talk through a couple more slides. Then I'm going to show a Microsoft video. And I hope that you'll walk away from that video and the rest of my presentation understanding what we do every day, what fulfills us. That's important, I think. And the culture of the company, the culture of the Navy, is grounded in a very basic thing. It's what you do to be proud. So I think that's important, and we'll talk a little bit. The job of a leader is to build pride. Okay. Let's talk a little about alignment. Alignment's a powerful tool. And the job of a leader is to drive alignment from top to bottom. Being a leader is about empowering folks for mission success. In the Navy, we've got commanding officers. They're ultimately accountable. They're ultimately responsible for not just accomplishing a mission, but for keeping young men and women safe when they go in harm's way. So being a leader is about leading and empowering folks to mission success. The job of a leader is to be trusted. And young men and women in your company, young men and women in my company, they didn't wake up every morning and become visionary. First, they had to be something else. First, they had to be, committed for starters. And then they had to be motivated. And maybe they were a little charismatic and they got some more responsibility and they were leading 10, 15 people. But finally, when you get to the highest levels of a company and you're somebody like Satya Nadella, you've got to have a vision. You really do. So that's the job of any company. Creating alignment top to bottom, creating alignment is the job of leaders and it's the job of everybody. And if you have alignment top to bottom, if everybody's rowing in the same direction, alignment's the result. And that is a big deal. Again, culture eats strategy for lunch. Culture is your DNA. Culture is what really the company represents. When people talk about companies, Microsoft was technical. It was blue energy. It was I want to see it and I want to see it in detail. But we're starting to change the culture of Microsoft, and there's a lot more coaching, a lot more supporting energy weaving in. And sure, there's some of that fiery red energy, people who just say, give me the answer and get out of here, the tough, busy leaders. But really, when we talk about Microsoft, we're talking about a growth mindset. Our CEO and many of our senior leaders talk about a growth mindset all the time. And there's a key couple of components here. The first is letting go of looking good. It's not all about you at Microsoft. It's more about a team. And you have to be accountable. That's really important. Everybody's equally responsible to be present in the discussion. And it's so easy with a computer and a phone to just kind of drift off. I'm not talking. I think I'll check my notes. It's important to be accountable and be represented. Modeling the way, you got to be bold. Especially in our supply chain, you've got to absolutely be bold. And finally, helping one another is something that we care deeply about. I'm a new employee, and I won't kid you. A new guy at Microsoft, I was the proverbial fish out of water. I got a long way to go still, and it's a great company. But luckily, I got a lot of folks that are helping me be successful. So it's really a big deal. Okay, I'm going to talk a little about our mission here for a second, and then I'm going to show a video. And I hope the video adds value, depth, and a little bit of fabric to what I'm talking about here. Every great organization needs an enduring mission, something that fits your appetite for impact. And I said in the Navy, it was about protecting and defending America's interests at sea. In Microsoft, we found a mission that was really hiding in plain sight. It was about helping the world face some of the challenges and empowering everybody to be better. And on the planet is something that you got to get your head around. We used to say in the Navy, the sun never sets in the United States Navy. Well, I've learned at Microsoft, the sun never sets on Microsoft either. Our job is to make an impact, and we can make an impact everywhere. So can we roll the video, please? Thanks, that's what I'm talking about. As you can see, our mission is grounded in the world we live in, and we live in a mobile-first, cloud-first world. Now, Microsoft has been in the phone business, and it's not really something that we would like to talk about in the context of the phone. What we like to talk about is the fact that the phone, the mobility, it's not about the phone, it's about enabling us to be mobile. So it's never about the mobile phone, but phones make us mobile. And to be mobile, you need a place where truth lives, where you can get the answers you need, and that place is the cloud. That's a pervasive source of up-to-date information, whether it's a map, or it's an email, or it's a Word document, or PowerPoint, or what have you, or you're just trying to search for for some information. The cloud is a pervasive source of up-to-date information that really moves at the speed of life. it's a great equalizer. It gives you computing power right where you're at. And so I'm very proud to be part of a team that's building the cloud. And we are really moving at hyperscale. It's really something to see, and to get on board and really catch the size and scale of this effort has been amazing for me. Now, in the Navy, sometimes you needed a good chief petty officer. This is a picture of one of my friends, the former Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Rick West. Now, Rick was the senior enlisted man in the Navy, and between the folks at the top of the organization, and between them and the people who are taking care of servers and writing code, there's that supervisor level. Rick is the perfect example, and that's why I have a picture of him here. He used his wit, his experience, his charisma. He could get anybody to do anything. He was your friend, your coach, your parent, and your boss, all rolled up into one. So if leadership has done their job, the job of making an operation like our supply chain hum falls to the kind of supervisors personified by Rick West. They have to have the structure or the infrastructure to gain consistency and flexibility. And infrastructure is not about buildings. It's not about it's not about bureaucracies. Bureaucracies are the potholes in the roads. The infrastructure really is the road. It's the direction. It's the fabric. It's the culture. It's the context of allowing a leader to lead. Sometimes guys like Rick West and others in my organization, undoubtedly in yours, just want the authority and the confidence that they are supported to get their job done. And Rick West was that perfect example. And so supervisor skills and infrastructure can never be missed. Of course, you just finished hearing a conversation with Greg about data. What's the old line? In God we trust, but everybody else has got to bring data. Our ships and submarines in the Navy depended on people that were, quote, on watch. You weren't in your bunks, you weren't at your desk, you were on watch. So whether you're on watch on the bridge of a ship or in an engine room or up in the tower of an aircraft carrier or someplace like that, your job was to remain vigilant. The difference in our environment is you're not on watch, on the bridge of a ship, but you're on watch consuming data points. That data that we've talked about is so important. If you're not consuming that information, and if you don't get the right information, don't ask for the right information, then you're not going to be as effective a leader as you'd like. But in this fiercely competitive global market, to make a supply chain hum, you've got to have the right data, and you've got to consume it. You've got to turn that vision of standing watch, if you will, into, channel that discomfort, into action of having to really sit and look at it. You've got to manage your discomfort. You've got to manage your operation. Business systems management. It's not about, in this day and age, it's not about incremental change. I was just looking at one of the headline feeds, and I think it was something like IBM declares war on Microsoft or something like that. And if that's not a perfect example of why you need to stay vigilant and on watch, then there is no other. But we have to have visual controls in my business to do briefings. We have to know whether our servers are performing up to snuff. A performance scorecard with effective data and analysis is perfect. I would congratulate both Hapag-Lloyd and Panalpina for their achievements, because they clearly are a benchmark worth admiring. Now, I finally got to a slide where I failed. You can't read it. So, but more importantly about this slide, it's that you're always evolving. And I'll be the first to tell you that Microsoft is right in the middle of a journey. And the journey, don't worry about the blue boxes. Obviously, they're illegible. But my point on this slide is Microsoft is nowhere near our data-driven analysis journey to say that we have accomplished anything more than halfway there. We are working very hard to find the information that allows us to validate the efficiencies, validate that the capacity we're building is being utilized, and validate that we have the right buffers, that we have the right size of the supply chain. We're only now starting to get comfortable with our information. Now, this supply chain really only organized about 6 months ago. Up until 6 months ago, we were really nothing more than a real sourcing operation. Everything else took care of itself. You know, we expected all of our vendors to maintain it, to install it, to ship it. We're only now starting to understand our great responsibilities. And we are talking about billions of dollars. We really are. It's a significant expenditure, and we're going to get it right. Efficiencies come to the forefront after almost every earnings call. You know, the CEO wants to know, what are you doing to be more efficient? How do you shrink your hot buffers, your warehouses? How do you speed your transportation? You know, how do you get better value? How do you price? What are you doing with spares? And what are you doing with people? Because people are still a great cost. We have to have the right people. We're hiring different teams to do different things because we know if we don't, we're going to add costs down the road. Total ownership cost is something we worry about very fast. Now, how fast is our business moving? Let me show you. This is an example of how fast we're going. You can see, you know, out here on the far right, you know, SAP represents, it took them 30 years to get to $10 billion in annual revenue. Amazon is about to get there with their Amazon Web Services, and Azure is right behind them. And the scale with which we are climbing that curve, you know, the story is that we'll hit it in 10 years. Amazon's going to hit it in 10 years. It just gives you a sense of what hyperscale looks like. This is a real fight to meet people's expectations, but also to deliver value as people look for the cloud to solve a lot of their problems. The growth, it's amazing. Our capacity planners, you know, for them now it's throwing playing cards downstairs, it's magic 8 balls, it's buckets of water. They just can't keep up with the expectations. Every time they think they've got it right, they find out they're wrong. So let's talk a little about building the cloud, and then I'll be done. I'm going to take the last 9 or so minutes to talk about that. We have to do it. We have to do it right. We have to do it fast. And so as we do it fast, here are some of the supply challenges that we have. Continuity supply, unpredictable demand, multiple geographies, technology. You know, this week, what was the story out of Taiwan? A typhoon. And who were our vendors that were at risk? Well, there were quite a few. And so every vendor that was at risk, we had to look and see, did we have warehouses there? Did we have stocks? Were there duplicate factories? You know, that was a key component for us. And visibility and control, of course, I'll talk a little about that just to get the message across of how important GT Nexus is to us. And on the total cost of ownership, technology acquisition and operational ownership, operational costs are something we look at every day. So let's talk about GT Nexus. This is the kind of boxes that show up. In it is a 96-inch rack. It weighs 3,000 pounds. And if it tips over, and we've had more than a few tip, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain because it can't be salvaged. And so we engaged GT Nexus to help us with some fundamental problems. When were those boxes going to land on our loading dock? Remember what I said, they're 3,000 pounds, they're 100 inches tall. They've got a rack that's got a hugely high center of gravity. And if we didn't know what time the truck was going to arrive, we didn't have the right people on the loading dock. And if you get the wrong people trying to offload one of these boxes, bad things happen. You know, somebody in flip-flops who says, I'll take care of it, nope, that's not going to work. If a guy doesn't have the gloves on, you know, he's going to, you know, we've had more than a few guys injure themselves doing this stuff. So we needed GT Nexus to understand just when the stuff was going to arrive and to have clear, concise communications with our suppliers. We needed data because not all aspirins are alike. Our data centers are significantly different. In Singapore, you got to take one of those boxes up a set of stairs. And in Hong Kong, you got to have to have a crane available because our data center is on the 3rd floor. That's the kind of stuff. We have things that are co-load. And by the way, not all of our deliveries look like those boxes. In some cases, we have entire data centers in boxes. They're called IT packs, and there are 20 clusters in a box that you just have to wire up, and we do that to get into an area fast. So I'm here to tell you that logistics is a capital L in this business. Supplier communications, obviously, it goes without saying. The purchase orders, which is really the document, you can't receive something properly if you can't figure out what it is you're supposed to be receiving. And so transmitting purchase orders around effectively was really important for us. And so we've deployed a couple of products with the GT Nexus platform, but most importantly, we have one data source. And a lot of our orders are customized. It's not all just the same server in a box. Almost every server rack can be different, from high performance computing to run Teradata and Netezza and HANA applications to things that need to run Bing and stuff like that. So everything's different. Innovation is really critical for us. We've got to innovate, but we've got to be careful. When the engineers innovate and they don't talk to the supply teams, they build something that can't be maintained, or they build something that's not profitable. So we worry about cost, we worry about manufacturability, we worry about quality. All those discussions need to happen. This is all designed for operational efficiency. You can design something nice, but if it's not efficient and we don't make money doing it, then we got another issue. Agility and predictability. I said the demand signal is always going to be very poor in this business because every now and then somebody's going to come in and say, I've got a new customer, and he's a big one, and so we need help there. And finally, strategic partnerships. We've got lots and lots of strategic partnerships, and those are important. Just an example of the kind of innovations. We design our own storage blades. We've designed in solid-state memory devices. We are partners in the open compute server business, which means that our servers are available, our designs are available in the open market, and you can buy them from HP or Dell if you want. It's a big deal, and we're constantly doing this sort of stuff. We are looking at reductions of components. Periodically, we'll look at a device and we'll say, can we do the same product in the same space and reduce the number of components? We look at the failure rates, and sometimes we decide we can reduce burn-in time. And then many times we look at a rack, something as simple as a rack, and we say, can we reduce metal? And do we need it to be as big and heavy as it constantly is? And so that's important to us. Our mechanical team, the ones on the right that are working on metal, these guys are really, really good at what they do. And our racks, again, we share our racks on the open compute server environment. So the same racks that we use, are the racks that Facebook uses. Standardization through predictability and standardization through agility and predictability is important to us. We'll take parts and make the servers that might be different in the racks, but we'll use fungible building blocks, FPGA codes, certain hard drives, the processors. Well, as best as we can, we have to standardize because our supply chain is not going to be successful if we can't have a finite number of things. Our ecosystem, the open compute server ecosystem, is growing every day. This is not all inclusive, but our partners are absolutely critical to our success. So I'll leave you with one example of our success and what we do, and this is fun. The North American Eagle is obviously a jet car, and in 2013, Jessie Combs became the fastest woman on four wheels with a speed of 406 miles an hour. And now she's trying to become the fastest woman on Earth and break Kitty O'Neill's 1976 record of 512 miles an hour, which was in a three-wheeled vehicle. The current land speed record is 763 miles an hour in 1997. And using our system, these guys, using our servers out on the desert, these guys have done some computations and some work, and they think they can break the sound barrier. So it's pretty exciting. We'll see where they're going. You'll see a reference to a try they had this last September. They unfortunately weren't successful. They had steering problems. But let me roll this video, and you'll enjoy it, I think.
Race mile 1, going into afterburners.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
It's human nature to go as fast as you can possibly go.
Oh Lord,
I'm not afraid of dying. I don't want to die, but I'm not afraid of it.
I've been waiting for this moment for all my life.
I just go, and I don't let up until I have to.
On the Eagle, there's over 30 sensors. They gather almost 12 million points of data. We want to figure out the best way in which for this car to run. Enter the Microsoft Cloud. We're able to take the data, automatically process it, and get the results in a time frame that was unimaginable in the past.
If you start thinking with fear, you're going to be living with fear, and you're not going to be achieving the goals that you set for yourself. Two things that I'm thinking before I take off. Let this be a testament that girls can do anything they set their mind to, and do not wreck this car.
We're processing over 2,000 measurements a second, and that's where machine learning comes in. We're going to be able to try to find the correlations that are probably not obvious and drive this project to a greater extent than we ever could have dreamed.
We will make history in 2015.
Well, thanks. Thanks. It's great to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to come present to y'all, and I hope the rest of your conference is successful. So have a great day, and thank you again.